Good people, karibuni back to Brotherhood Mentality. I am so excited. I'm so elated actually. We have gotten to 100 subscribers. Fam, yani, you guys have done the thing. I'm so excited. I'm so happy. So thankful to God. It can only be God, by the way, who does this. And truly, even as Brotherhood Mentality, we just want to thank you guys. Thank you. You are family. Once you are a part of us, you are family. So thank you to the whole Brotherhood Mentality family for making this happen. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for telling a friend to tell a friend. We are now at 100 plus actually, and we are really doing well. And by March we want to get to 300 subscribers, and by the goal for us 2022 is to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of this year. We can make it, fam. We can do this. Let's go. Let's push. This is our challenge this year. Our phrase this year actually as Brotherhood Mentality is Overflow Grace. So there's a lot of breakthrough. We are going to break forth in every area of our lives. We're going to do so much for the kingdom and so much for for God, and God shall receive the glory. So thank you so much once again for just doing this. I'm so excited, by the way. I am so excited and thankful, and all glory back to God. So today I just want to get into a story, and of course on this segment and on this platform rather, we have a segment called real-time story. So today I want to share with us a story, and I believe that is a story that will help us to understand how we are going to go about this year. Even as we have started, we are some few weeks into the year, and I believe there are ambitions that you and I have, and we want to achieve them. We want to see them come to pass. We have a lot of resolutions, and we talked on this platform last time. Joy was just talking to us about vision boards, and some of us have vision boards for the year 2022, and I believe that we are going to achieve so much more even as we continue on, and my prayer is that all of us will achieve what we desire to achieve by the end of the year 2022. So without further ado, today I will be sharing with us this story. So listen in very carefully, and I believe it will help us to understand a few things. I will point out a few things from this story which will help you and I to progress in 2022 and beyond as well. So there's a famous story about a man who was sleeping at night in his cabin, and suddenly his room was filled with light, and God appeared. So the Lord told the man he had work for him to do, and he showed him a particular large rock that was in front of his cabin. So the Lord explained that the assignment of this man was to push against the rock with all his might. I want you to underline that, by the way, and remember that his assignment from God was he was supposed to push against the rock with all his might. Please remember, he was to push against the rock with all his might. And so the man began that journey, and day in, day out, he did the same. And so for many years, he toiled from sun up to sundown, his shoulders set squarely against the cold stone, the massive surface of this unmoving rock. He was pushing it with all his might. And each night, this man returned to his cabin, and he was sore and he was worn out. You can imagine, by the way, pushing against a rock, and of course, day in, day out, he will get sore, he will get worn out, and he was feeling like his whole day had just been spent in vain. And sometimes when we do things, there are things God tells us to do, and sometimes we go back home and we feel worn out, we feel we are in pain, we feel like the day that has just ended has been like imekuwa tu siku, that another day that has been wrongly spent, So, and we feel like it was all in vain, right? Well, let's continue with the story. Let's see how it went on. So, since the man was showing discouragement, now I want you to also pay attention here. The enemy, Satan, now decided to enter into the picture by placing thoughts into his weary mind. Note, the enemy started to do something. He started to plant weary thoughts into he started to place thoughts into his weary mind. So the devil was actually saying this to his mind. He was telling him, you've been pushing against that rock for a very long time and it hasn't moved. So the enemy tried to tell this man and give this man the impression that the task is impossible and that he as a man was a failure. So you see, the enemy was very cunning, because the enemy was trying to show this man that what you're doing is impossible, number one, and that you are a failure. And I believe most of the times I think if you have not come to this place where you feel you are a failure, or the enemy is actually just telling you this thing that you're trying to do, it is impossible, it can't be done, it has never been done. I believe most of us who are watching me now, you have experienced this at some point in your life. You have felt the enemy whispering to your ear that you're a failure, that what you're doing is impossible. But let's continue. So these thoughts, of course, discouraged and disheartened the man, as of course it would always do to any person, you and I included. So Satan now said, why kill yourself over this? He told him, now the enemy, Satan, was telling this man, just put in your time, giving just the minimum effort, that will be good enough. Imagine, by the way, this is what the enemy always does to us. He always wants us to give our time, give your time, and give the minimum effort. And he told him that would be enough, because that's what the agenda of the enemy is, always to kill, to steal, to kill, to destroy. So he comes in and starts to tell this man, you just give your minimum effort. It's, of course, you can give your time, and that would be good enough. But let's continue. So the fatigued man, by this point now, he decided to take this matter to God in prayer, So he took this matter now where now he has heard what the enemy is whispering to his ear. He decided to take it up to God in prayer. And so when he was in prayer, the Lord said, he said to the Lord now, this man talking to God in prayer, he said, Lord, I have labored very long and hard in your service. I have been putting all my strength to do what you have asked. Yet after all this time, I have not even budged that rock by half a millimeter. What's wrong? Why am I failing? And these are some of the questions we ask ourselves. We ask God, why am I failing? What's wrong? Maybe there are things you wanted to see by this time this year, and you're asking God, what's wrong? Am I failing? Why am I failing? Let's continue and hear what the Lord said to this man. So the Lord responded compassionately, and he told this man, my friend, when I asked you to serve me and you accepted, I told you that your task, and please pay attention to this part. What the Lord said to this man was, I told you that your task was to push against the rock with all of your strength, which you have done. Never once did I mention to you that I expected you to move it? So note, God had told this man to push against the rock. That was his assignment. God never told this man to move it. There is a difference. He was told to push against the rock with all his strength. But never in God's instructions did God tell this man he was supposed to move the rock. His task was simply to push. And this is very important because there are so many times God gives us instructions to do certain things, and definitely we start off and we are excited. We are excited that God has told me to do something. He has given me an ambition. He has given me a dream. He has given me an assignment, to do. So we set out to do it. But many times we have not really understood what He said to us to do with what He has called us to do. So you set out to begin to do it, and you really did not understand the instructions that God gave to you. Because for this man was supposed to push against the rock and never to move it. So the instruction was to push against it. Please think about it. Think about it. Let's continue. So God continues to say to this man, so now you have come back to me with all your strength spent, thinking that you have failed. But is that really so? Look at yourself. Your arms are strong. Now God is encouraging this man and telling him, your arms are strong and you're now muscled. Your back is sinewy and it's brown. Your hands are calloused from the constant pressure, and your legs have become massive and hard. Through opposition, you have grown mass. This is still the Lord speaking to this man. And your abilities now surpass that which you used to have. You hear all this that God is saying to this man. And he says, God continues to say, true, you haven't moved the rock. But your calling was to be obedient. Get this. Your calling was to be obedient and to push and to exercise your faith. So his assignment was, he was supposed to be obedient, number one, and to push against the rock. That is the second thing that he was supposed to do. The third thing he was supposed to do was to exercise faith and to trust, number 4, in God's wisdom. And God says to him, that you have done. Now, listen to this. God now tells the man, finally God says something here very powerful. He says to the man, now, God now says, God says, my friend, will move the rock. So he tells the man that he himself, God, will move the rock. So the assignment of this man was, number 1, to be obedient. And that's it. That's important to what God tells you to do this year. You need to be obedient to it. If God has given you a word to run with, personally, maybe as an individual, He has given you a word to run with, do according to what God has told you. Number 2, push, push, push. Do not give up. The assignment for this man was to push against the rock. So push, push, even against the storms that come. Push, push, push. Number 3, the other thing that we need to exercise, even as we do what God has told us in this year, is to exercise our faith. Because as we do what God has called us to do, we are exercising our faith in Him. Now faith is, right? So, and faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of God, right? That is what the scripture says in Romans. So what we need to do is hear God correctly and start to exercise our faith in Him, right? Because that's what God has called us to. And then number 4 thing that, of course, we are supposed to do is to trust in God's wisdom. There's wisdom in what God says to us to do. There's a lot of wisdom, because God said to this man to push against the rock and not to move it. So if God has told you to push against something, push against it. Do not try to move it. Your assignment is clear. Push against the rock. Do not try to move it. Okay? And that's very important. And I believe as you take these lessons today, as you think about these things, they will help you, as you progress through the year. I want to read something here that will help us to just crown it all. I want to close this video with this. When God gives you a word, do not make a paragraph out of it. When God gives you a word, don't make a paragraph out of it. He has told you to push. Do not go and start writing a paragraph of how God has told you to move it. So if God has given you a word, don't make a paragraph out of it. Because usually our tendency is to, when He says for us to do something, we start to do our own. We do not believe in what He has. We start to doubt at some point. So when God has given you a word, please do not make a paragraph out of it. I'm so glad that we have started 2022, and I wish every one of us all the best in all that we do this year. I pray and hope that this story really blesses your heart and encourages you even in your ambitions and in your plans this year. And yeah, thank you so much, guys, for sticking out to the very end of this video. I know it has taken a longer time, but I believe that the lessons are worth your time and your resources and finances as well. So thank you so much, guys, for reaching out. Thank you. My name, I know I did not introduce myself. My good name is Sabili Hope, and I'm so glad that you are part of this family. Thank you. Share this, comment, like, subscribe to this channel. If you're new here, karibu sana. We really love visitors, and so karibu to the family. Thank you, and I hope to see you next time. Please, as you do that, stay safe. I love you all. Bye bye.